Notice I said with every firstborn, one of four things has to happen. Do you remember what those four things are? Sacrifice, redeem, substitute, or destroy. That's the law of the firstborn. Now, the Israelites were told by God to make a distinction between clean animals and unclean animals. And so if a clean animal was born, the firstborn of every clean animal, an ox, a sheep, a goat, one of these animals that Israel said was a clean animal, the firstborn must be sacrificed. So let's say you had a herd of sheep, a flock rather, of sheep, and one is born, and that firstborn of every mom, that firstborn has to be sacrificed. Or an ox. And he said, you can't make it work. It has to be sacrificed. You can't even take the wool off it. It has to be sacrificed. So the firstborn of every clean animal has to be sacrificed. But what about an unclean animal? God won't accept the sacrifice of an unclean animal. God will not accept an unclean sacrifice. So what do you do if you're going to obey the law of the firstborn? A clean animal you sacrifice. An unclean animal, then you must redeem. And the word redeem means simply to buy back. You have to pay some money for it. So if you had an unclean animal, you must pay some money for that unclean animal because it is an unacceptable sacrifice. I want you to remember that idea of redeem. Redeem means to buy something back. And once something has been bought back, it can then be released. In other words, if you buy that unclean animal back, now you can start using that animal if you so choose. So everything has to be either sacrificed or redeemed. And so if it is a clean animal, you sacrifice it. If it is an unclean animal, you redeem it. What about the firstborn of sons? God was forbidding Israel to do child sacrifice. So the firstborn male of a family cannot be sacrificed. So what has to happen? If you can't sacrifice this boy, what must you do to observe the law of the firstborn? You have to redeem. And the price of redemption, oddly enough, was 5 shekels. Now, you can get all these scriptures. I know I'm going quickly here. But here's what God said. God said, rather than taking the firstborn male of every family in Israel to serve in my temple, to serve in my tabernacle, to be priests unto me, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the whole tribe of Levi, and they will be a substitute for every other firstborn male. So now we have the concept of substitute. And that's why the Levites were the ones who served in the tabernacle. Then when David brought about and Solomon the temple, the Levites were the ones. God said, I'm going to substitute the Levites for every firstborn son born in Israel. But what you have to do is you have to bring 5 shekels to those Levites to redeem the firstborn son. But you redeem them because there's been a substitute. Are you with me so far? I know I'm throwing a lot at you. So every firstborn, if it's a clean animal, has to be sacrificed. If it's an unclean animal, has to be redeemed. If it is a son, God made a substitute through the Levites, but you still had to redeem it. And that's why